Hello everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to do another beginner Photoshop tutorial with vector. While you can't create true vector images with Photoshop because it's just not programmed to do true vector, you can still get something pretty close and something that looks really nice. So I'm going to be using this image of the woman in the bathing suit. She's in the background and it's locked and it won't let me edit anything, which is fine. I don't need to. I'm going to go up and create a layer and go over to my pen tool. You'll notice there's a few options over here, but for now just worry about the pen tool. I have it set to path. You could do shape, but you'll notice that when you're trying to do a shape, it's going to start coloring in what you're working on, and it's a little bit harder to see what you're doing. So I like to do path first, and then you can always convert it to a shape later. So my fill color, I think I like this orange, so I'm going to hit I on my keyboard and just get a sample of the orange. I'm going to zoom in, make sure my pen tool is selected, and I'm just going to start tracing over the top of this bathing suit. Now you'll notice when you get to some of the more curved areas for whatever image you're using, the pen tool is just going to make the direct straight line. But as long as you still have your left mouse button held down, you can just drag this out. It'll create these little anchor points for you that you could always adjust later. That way you can get a nice roundness to your shape. So I'm going to keep working on it. This did go further out than I'd like, but there's a way to fix that, and I'll show you guys how once I'm done creating the basic shape. And you don't want to go too crazy. A shape like this is fairly simple. It doesn't really need a bunch of points added to it. You can get a really nice shape without actually adding very many points to something. And as far as workflow is concerned, it's much easier when you don't have a bunch of points you're having to manage. And you'll see here it does that same thing where it dips down too low, but I can fix it. It's really, really easy. Alright. So for now, that looks good enough. I'm going to come in and tweak everything. So I have my path. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to turn this into a shape. And it's just going to fill everything for me. Now I'm going to come over back to my pen, and this time I'm going to select this Convert Point tool. And what that's going to do, so right here it's a little sharp, and I don't really want it to be that sharp of an angle. So with the Convert Anchor, you'll see it come up with that little V. You can drag this out and just kind of redo points that you've already done. So you don't have to make it perfect the very first time. Now with this one, you'll remember earlier this part went out way too far when compared to the reference. So easily fixed. I'm going to come down to my mouse right here. You're going to want the direct selection tool. If you do path, it's going to select this entire shape you've done, which you don't want. I just want to mess with the one point. So you can either come to your anchor point right here and just adjust that, but you'll notice it's starting to affect this top one as well. So you can hold down Alt or Option on your keyboard and just select this one anchor point, and you'll see it's just going to adjust this one side. It's not going to affect the top. So now I can go back to this one and do the same thing. Now, let's say you wanted to move, just one point, like this one, I want to move it over a little. You can still do that with your direct selection. Just click on it. And if you want to do something minor, you can use your arrow keys and it'll just move it over point by point. And what's nice about this is, so each layer, just create a new layer. And if I wanted to add shadow, I would just do a shadow shape right here. I'd do it a little bit darker. If I wanted to do the whole body, I would create another layer and just make sure to put it underneath the bathing suit. You also have all the same Photoshop editing techniques available. So for this shape, I could go to this filter if I wanted to, and I don't know. I can come to my filter gallery. It'll say it has to be rasterized, which is fine. And then you can add any Photoshop filter you want on top of your pre-made shape, which is really cool. Here it looks a little blurry, but I'm also zoomed in a lot. If I come out, you see how you can have a lot of fun and really play around and get some nice shapes with the vector tool, and then you can also give it some really cool effects just within Photoshop and all the filters that are available. I hope this was informative for you guys, and I hope it helps you in your future projects in Photoshop. This has been Graphics Editor Tutorials with Vector in Photoshop.